Now I want to introduce, because I think Janet also did a great job. He's going to make fun of me here, so I just wanted to put that up. No, this guy, you know, I think at Chittenden Southeast District, obviously we're going up against 5 different Democrats that are running. You know, 3 obviously only get in. But I do truly believe, like what Janet said, is that this is not just for me, but I think that this is also for the betterment of Vermont. And I do want to see another Republican get in there that's not just me, and that's Bruce Roy.
Hi everyone, can you hear me okay? Yeah, I'm Bruce Roy, and I am running again for Senator in Chittenden County Southeast. I announced last weekend, and I'm incredibly pleased to be running alongside Javen. It's going to be a fun time. It really is. And we've got quite a challenge ahead of us. There's a very different dynamic going on in Chittenden Southeast this election cycle versus 2024 when I last ran. There's a bunch of factors going on that are going to be critical to Javen and our success. The first one I want to talk about is in the 2024 Republican primary for Chittenden Southeast, there was only one good-looking, intelligent, charismatic, eloquent, and energetic candidate on the primary ballot. Me. This year, there are 2 energetic, handsome, smart, eloquent, energetic candidates. And you thought I was going to make fun of that. And as Javen mentioned earlier too, there's going to be another fun dynamic going on in the Democratic primary for the senators in Chittenden County Southeast. 3 incumbents are going to run, and they have 2 challengers, so it'll be entertaining and educational as we go forward. As I talked about last week, you know, you got 3 plus 2, 5 total candidates running against each other for 3 seats. They're going to spend some money, which is all good. And I think they might open up a couple of wounds that we can take advantage of. So we're going to have some fun there, I think. And the last dynamic I want to talk about is we really have some momentum. We really did. Driven by the elections in 2024, driven by a measure of success that I had running as a conservative in Chittenden County Southeast, where it's very difficult, very, very difficult. I'm pleased to say I got 16,000 votes. And I believe with Javen by our side working together, we can get to the 20,000 votes plus that we need to take a couple seats away from the incumbents. So it's going to be great. We also have the issues on our side. Lieutenant Governor Rogers talks about it all the time. There are issues that are unresolved in the Senate. There's a bunch of senators here today who can tell you more about it than I can, but there's been no progress. So the way I explain that, and I apologize for folks who were at my announcement last time, I'm going to duplicate something. In the 23-24 legislative session was ugly. It was ugly. It was a supermajority in the House, supermajority in the Senate of the Democrats and progressives, and we had a progressive lieutenant governor. It made it miserable to get anything done. Matter of fact, even worse, there was legislation passed that was only really, anybody really liked. It was the lobbyists, you know, and the folks who were spending the money. So things like the Global Warming Solutions Act, which is actually the session before, but the Renewable Energy Standard, the Clean Heat Standard, Act 181, which everybody's hearing about now, which was a oops by them, all got passed over the governor's veto. They overrode him quite simply, and actually I believe it was like 13 overrides of the governor's veto. These bills that no one really wanted, and the legislature said they were listening, they weren't. They weren't. Even when the population turned down all the school budgets in 2024 because the taxes were going nuts, 16-14% that year. They said they were listening, and they weren't. Many of us started saying, could it get much worse than what already happened? Could it get much worse? We were worried. Well, you know what? It's kind of like being at the top of a cliff and being pushed off. That's how a lot of us felt. And you're pushed off the cliff, and all you can see is the rocks and everything, you know, down below you. It felt terrible. But we got a parachute. We got a parachute. The 2024 elections happened. We got 6 new senators, some sitting right over here with us, and 18 new representatives. We broke the supermajority, which was amazing. Amazing. And I believe Javen and I can take advantage of that momentum. Because even though the supermajority was gone, and we had the Democrats and progressives were still in the majority in this current legislative session, nothing's really happening. A few little things, but you know, there was an Act 181 oops that you're trying to fix. Yeah, we really didn't mean it, but no, that's not true, they really did. And then Act 73, which is the education reform, that stalled, and you know, that's not listening to the people who really need help there with property taxes and that sort of stuff. So we've stalled in the legislature, but we're not falling backwards. So now the thought is, you know, it could have been worse. It could have been worse this time, but the current Senate, the current House was able to stop that from happening. But things have kind of stalled. There's no cooperation, no coordination, nothing going on that's going to let us get out of this problem we're in Vermont, especially with affordability. So, you know, it could have been worse. It's not a measure of success. It's not. What we've got to do, what Javen and I've got to do, is get to the Senate, get a majority, get a conservative majority with conservative, common sense ideas out there where we don't have to depend on committees led by Democrats that the bills are going to get put forward. We can do it. We can do it. And you know, we pick up a couple seats, we're going to take that parachute, there's going to be a little updraft, and we're going to move ourselves into a place where we can get Vermont better. So with your help, Javen and I, we can, as good conservatives, good common sense folks, I believe we can win a couple seats, and we can force some change in Vermont. So thank you both all for being here, and Javen, appreciate your time.